with International Women's Day, which this is, but it didn't quite go the way the activists had hoped. Nima El-Bagr is in Cairo now. Let's go to her live. Nima, what happened?
Well, Jim, I think they were hoping that the ethos of Tahrir Square would carry them through to a completely new age, throwing off not just the shackles of the Mubarak regime, but the traditional roles that women inhabit here in Cairo. Unfortunately, very quickly, the demonstrators, who had amongst their number a lot of men, I have to say, were surrounded by anti-feminist demonstrators, as some of the women described them to me. Some of the chants we heard were, women are women, men are men, cover your heads and go home. You know, this isn't the time for these kind of questions. But as many of the activists we spoke to said, well, if this isn't the time, after we played such an intrinsic role in the Egyptian uprising, when is the time for us to call for our rights, Jim?
Well, you know, Suzanne Mubarak, the president's wife, you know, really empowered women very much. Are there concerns about the women in the women's movements, that some of those rights could erode as other voices, other parties, among them the Muslim Brotherhood, get a greater share of power?
What was interesting today, and what has been interesting throughout the Egyptian uprising, is really what a broad cross-section of Egyptian women are present. You know, there were women wearing the full face veil today, holding up signs. There were women in hijab, as well as the kind of women that Suzanne Mubarak became associated with, the more westernized feminists. So really what they're hoping is that this is something that will carry resonance across Egyptian society. But unfortunately, the response they heard was the traditional one, that now's not the time, that we have so much other work to do, that women's rights have to take, you know, they have to take a back step and wait until we deliver on other issues in Egyptian political life, Chip.
Nima, are women there, some of them that you have spoken with, concerned about the fate of women's rights?
Hugely concerned. You know, Essam Sharaf, the new Egyptian Prime Minister, he paid a lot of lip service to proportional representation for women in parliament and a greater presence for women in the public space. But there was only one woman in the new government that was announced, and she had the international development portfolio, you know, which is hardly, you know, cabinet stuff. It's hardly the front line of political life. And even today, the fact that so many men were outraged by just what was printed on the leaflets. I mean, one of the statements that the women printed on the leaflets was, you know, we demand control of our reproductive rights. And men were almost disgusted to see that phrase, reproductive rights, written on a paper that was being handed out by women in a public space. You know, they perceived that as being shameless. So even though post-Egyptian uprising, we've heard so much about how this is a new era for freedoms and democracy, but it seems it's just freedoms and democracy for one sex, Jim.
All right. Nima El-Bagr reporting there to us live from Cairo. As always, Nima, thanks so much. This final reminder, I want to hear from you. You can reach us anytime, day or night. Just